Hey everybody, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Please let me know if you can hear me out there, guys. Give me a thumbs up. Sound is only in one headphone. Okay, weird. But you can hear me, right? Let me try something here, guys. 1 second, all right? All right. I don't want to blast your ears, so. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me out there? Give me a sign. Ah, boy, these technical issues, I tell you. Let me see here if I can actually hear myself. Yeah, I do. Okay, I don't know why this sound. It's all right. Anyways, how's everyone doing today? Hope everybody's doing fine. Welcome to another live episode of Addicted to Gear. So today is February 23rd, getting to the end of another month. Spring is around the corner, guys. I'm so fed up of winter right now. I really am. I always feel like I'm a prisoner in wintertime, you know? Can't go outside. Snowed in here in Montreal. Very cold. Still have snow on the ground, but it's getting there. Let's not lose hope, guys. Let's not lose hope. I envy all of you guys that are in the warm parts of the world out there. So let's hear who's out there. If you're online today watching the show, please don't be shy. Say hello. Welcome to the show. I see some new names out there today. And a lot of familiar ones too. So that's great. I'm playing the Harley Benton guitar today. Why am I playing the Harley Benton? Because I think it's cool, man. I did a review on this guitar. You guys can check that out if you haven't already seen it. Pick this one up on Amazon, and it's amazing that you can buy guitars on Amazon today. Who would have thought that would be possible 10 years ago when they were just selling books? But now you can basically buy everything on Amazon. So I picked up this acoustic guitar, and basically the guitar knocked my socks off for the price that I paid. This thing was under 200 bucks, and it really is a great acoustic guitar. I picked this up for my daughter, and I haven't given it to her yet because I like playing it. The thing that blew me away on this was not just the price, but also the features. The fact that you have the onboard electronics for the tuner. You can plug it in. It's got outputs here, balanced and line. And the thing that really amazed me is that the top is actually a solid top. And you don't really see solid tops at that price range. It's crazy. And this thing's made in China, like everything else today. And I've been playing it with the stock strings. The stock strings are probably, I don't know what kind of strings they are. They call them Donner strings, so who knows. But I basically will swap out the strings for some better quality strings once they become tarnished. And I basically love this guitar. You know, I said it a million times. I'll say it one more time. There's minor defects with these guitars, okay? But not really defects. It's really setup issues. I find that with these less expensive guitars, they don't spend as much time, obviously, setting them up. And if the guitar is built well overall, if the foundation of the guitar is solid, you can basically go a long way with these guitars before you need to upgrade. And the things that you normally see with guitars in this price range is always pretty much the same. The tuners usually could stand with an upgrade. The nut usually is not bone, it's plastic. Sometimes they're not cut well. In this case, both the tuners and the nuts, are budget, but they're not defective or anything like that. And there was some comments regarding the string alignment, and some people noticed, and you guys have good eyes, that the B string on the guitar is slightly misaligned. And that's not necessarily a defect. All it is that the string here at the base of the of the bridge here is just moved over a little bit. So it's not like misaligned because the hole is in the wrong place. It's misaligned because the string is just moved over a little bit. So that's just a question of moving over the string, basically taking the guitar and loosening the string and straightening it. It's really a 2-second thing. So there's no real big problems with the guitar, and it plays great in my opinion. The other thing with these budget guitars, because they don't spend too much time on the setup, usually the frets are, they require a little bit of sanding on the side so that the fret sprout doesn't hurt your fingers. And sometimes you can use a polish, because sometimes the frets are not as smooth as they could be. But these are all things that I normally do anyways with my guitars whenever I do a setup, an adjustment. And I'm really comfortable with doing all of that stuff, so I don't even have to bring it to a tech or a luthier or anything like that. I can just do it myself, and just be able to knock that one out without spending a dime. Now, if Fox Guitars Rock, you're at work and you say my sound is a little bit less loud today, I just pumped it up a little bit for you. Tell me if that's better. I don't want to put it too loud. I don't want you guys to get, your ears blasted. It's also because I'm a little bit further away from the microphone. Put the guitar away just because I want to get closer to the mic, and I get distracted when I play. I don't talk enough for you guys. All right, so let's say hello to everyone who's here today. Thank you for joining me, as I mentioned at the top of the video segment here. So let's say hello. So Ed's in the house. Good morning, Eds. Ed, nice to see you. You're a regular on the channel, and thank you for tuning in again. Serious Intentions is in the house. He's new today. I don't think I've seen you around before, so welcome to the channel if you're tuning in for the first time. Paul is in the house. Paul is a regular here. Thanks for joining us again. Jazz guitar neophyte is in the house again. Nice to see you again. Good morning to you. Tim is in the house. Thanks for the kind words, Tim. I'm glad you enjoy my channel, and I'm glad you can tune in. I have one that's difficult to pronounce. Masai Oishi. Hope I pronounced that properly. I hope I didn't butcher the name. Thanks for joining us today. Christopher Thomas, thanks for joining us as well. And Bob F is in the house. Good morning, Bob. Nice to see you this morning. Why not? Hey, Tony. I'm Tony from Ontario. Nice to meet you, Tony from Ontario. Not far. Neighbor. You're my neighbor. And then we have Texture 75, and he's all the way in Peru. Wow. And it's the first time here. So welcome to you as well. I wish I was in Peru. Lucky man. So basically, guys, today, lots of stuff to talk about as usual. We're going to try to limit the show to about an hour or so. I apologize. Last week I had to cut it short to about half an hour, and there was a whole bunch of stuff I wanted to talk about, and I didn't get around to talking about that stuff, unfortunately. But I'm trying to squeeze in these shows around my schedule as well. So sometimes you have to make everyone else happy as well, and try and do what you can with the time that you have. So of course, my regular question to you guys at the top of the show is, what's new? What are you guys looking at in terms of gear? What do you have your hands on? What are you enjoying? Have you gotten anything new in terms of gear, guitars, effects, pedals, amplifiers, all that stuff? Even music, any kind of albums that you're listening to and enjoying. Let me know. One thing I want to talk about today, and it's kind of sad, unfortunately, but we're seeing a lot of the old timers now wrapping it up in terms of their careers, and the latest sad news came out of the Ozzy Osbourne camp, and he put out a statement recently that he was suffering, I believe, Parkinson's, which is a really terrible disease. And I don't wish that on anybody. But, we all know that Ozzy's been struggling with health issues for the better part of his career. And, we've seen the effects and how he's been deteriorating in terms of his speech and his mannerisms, the way he moves. And unfortunately, it seems like, this has really taken its toll on him, because recently he announced that he was going to get some more treatments for this disease, and basically that he felt that this was the end. So I don't know what that means, but I think basically, a man at his age has been through a lot. He can definitely give us some crazy stories, that's for sure, in terms of his life. I read his book, which is a really excellent read if you're an Ozzy Osbourne fan. And he basically says that he feels this is the end. So maybe at this point he just feels that he can't go on anymore. And he's been doing this for a long, long time. He's a veteran of rock. I'm not a huge Ozzy Osbourne fan, but I do appreciate what he's put in terms of a career, a lifelong career in the world of music and the things that he's accomplished. So definitely would like to give him a shout out and hope that he gets better with time. Hopefully even if he's not able to perform anymore, I just hope that he's able to enjoy the rest of the time that he has around with us. Excuse me, I had to cough there. All right, can you hear me, guys? You still hear me out there, I hope? All right, good. So let's look at some of the questions, and if you have any questions regarding any of my past videos, now's a good time to ask them. I definitely put out a lot of video content on a regular basis, and a lot of you have asked questions in the past, but if you have anything specific you want to ask, definitely go ahead. Now's the time. You have my attention. So I'll look at some of the comments, and Christopher says that he got a 50s Fender P-Bass worn. I guess that's a road worn. It's overpriced but very nice. I like the road worn stuff. I have a one. Sorry, I have a one road worn Strat, and it's great. I love it a lot. I also have a road worn Telecaster, and I just love the feel of the road worn stuff. It's really cool, and it's amazing how even though the guitar might be new, you feel like you don't really have to worry about it too much because It is already kind of worn and dinged. So if anything happens, then definitely uh, bingo. You have a wonderful old looking guitar. Thanks, Jazz Guitar Neophyte. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Um, so, Christopher, going back to your 50s Fender P bass, why did you choose that particular model? A lot of people like the jazz bass, the Geddy Lee type jazz bass. Jazz Guitar Neophyte says, my favorite gear is my freeze pedal. I use it for my scales and arpeggio practice. They can be pricey, but found a used one at Reverb, but one of my most treasured pedals. So is that, I'm not familiar with that pedal. Is that a looper type pedal? I find looper pedals to be indispensable when it comes to practice. I have a couple actually. I have one on my board. I have a Donner, a delay pedal that has a built-in looper, and I also have one in my Ampero. And they're great because you can definitely. It's great for ear training, and it really is the next best thing to having, a drummer and a another guitarist with you when you're practicing. The Ampero has built-in drums as well, so you can actually just play a metronome, or you can actually play with some actual predetermined drum loops. It's not the best in terms of drum loops, but it does the job in terms of just keeping the timing and the your ear sensitive to the beat, which is a great way to practice, and I highly recommend people do it that way. So basically, guys, what else you're looking at? I see that some of you out there are looking at the Harley Benton stuff. There's a lot of buzz about the Harley Benton guitars. And, Harley Benton is really becoming a disturber in the market with their lower priced guitars. And I think it's a great thing because as a lot of larger companies like Fender, Gibson, PRS, Sir, these type of companies are driving up the price on their guitars. They're asking for more money on their guitars. People like Thomann are importing some pretty good quality guitars, and they're charging a lot less. And you know what? If they're not selling as many Epiphones because of it, so what? It's like my opinion is competition in the market is never bad for consumers. And we've been getting the shit end of the stick for a long time. Fender's been driving up their prices. They've even been accused of price fixing recently. And the consumers are paying for it, right? We're paying for it by having to pay more for gear. And nobody wants to do that, right? So either you turn to the used market, or you basically support the companies that are importing good quality import guitars made overseas. I have no problem with buying a guitar made in China or Indonesia or wherever they're being made, as long as they're being made properly and they don't arrive banged up, damaged, defective, in any way. And I think Thomann is doing a great job right now, and they're flooding the market with these guitars, with the Fusions. The one I got that I reviewed was excellent, and I'm super happy with it. I played it on a live gig recently just to hear the quality of the pickups, the quality of the sound overall. Um, and what I noticed is that it does become a little bit less bright, and when you roll down the volume, there's not as much play in the volume. Like you can have it fully open, and you really have to bring it down to really low volumes before you see a difference. So the pots that they're using maybe are not the best, and I probably will change the pot eventually. But everything else, the pickups, nice sounding. The switches, everything sounds good. The only thing for me is I always appreciate a neck pickup that it's a little bit more on the bright side. And overall, with almost all my guitars, I always find that the neck pickup is just a little bit too bassy for what I like. So I tend to go with a brighter pickup in the neck. And that's just what I like. And the Harley Benton is the same kind of deal. But it's not the fault of the guitar. I mean, most of the guitars use pickups like that. I just prefer brighter pickups in the neck. So Nico Van Reckham says, "What are your overall thoughts about Harley Benton?" Well, that's it. I just basically summed it up right there. Um, I love Harley Benton stuff. I have no issues with it. I actually liked the Fusion 2 guitar that I got so much that I ordered two more. So they should be coming soon, I hope. I ordered an SC 450, which is a P90 style Les Paul body with P90 pickups, and the T Fusion, which is the Telecaster version of the Fusion guitar, which basically has humbuckers in it as opposed to Tele pickups. And I think that's going to be a cool thing to check out, because I know the Fusion models are great, but I haven't tried the earlier versions of their guitars. So the SC model is really a lot less expensive. It's a very, very budget friendly guitar. And I'm curious to see whether or not that guitar will be as good, or if I'm going to find some defects and some build issues with it, because it is so inexpensive. I'm really curious. So when I get them, I'll definitely do an unboxing review for you guys and do my regular review rundown on them, so that you can see what you're getting for that kind of cash. Hamid's in the house. Hey Hamid, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us here today. He has a question. He says, "Can I use the Fender GTX7 foot switch for the Fender Mustang GT40?" Good question. I don't know. I don't have a Fender Mustang. I'm not really sure, but I'm sure you can find information on that on YouTube. It depends what kind of foot switch they normally use. Fender sometimes uses the three-pronged, kind of like the MIDI style foot switch. So you have to check what kind of input you have there for this foot switch. I couldn't tell you. I would have to do some research on that, unfortunately. Christopher says, Harley Benton P bass, any good? I don't know. I haven't tried one, but I've been eyeing one, and I'm not a bass player, and I enjoy playing bass just for the heck of it. It's really fun. For me, it's easier to do. I don't have to worry about chords so much, and it is fun playing along with some music. So I do have what do I have? I have a Yamaha bass, and I have a Donner bass that I got recently, and the Donner bass is just there in the corner, and it's a P style bass, also sub $200, and it's just as good as the Squier stuff. And if you don't feel that the Squier stuff is lower quality, you'd be happy with that. I'm sure the Harley Benton stuff are probably just as good, for basses. I'm just blown away by the quality of these inexpensive basses and guitars. Honestly, guys, I don't know how they do it. I mean, I know they're not paying much for salaries down there, and they're probably working for 25 cents a day, which is a shame. But I mean, at least it's giving them a job and it's keeping them working, which is, I guess, what needs to be done. But in terms of the quality, I wouldn't be surprised if they're being made in the same factory that these guitars are being made in. If the Squiers are being made in the same factory. I mean, they all come out of pretty much the same places. I know that the Fusion guitar comes out of, I think somebody said Cort. Could it be the Cort factory? Which can handle the volume, and they make good quality guitars as well. go to some of the questions so that we can see what people are talking about here. Christopher also says that the P bass that he got is overpriced. I don't know how much you paid it, Christopher, but used, I think the regular road worn Strats are selling for about $800 or $900 normally. That's Canadian. I don't know where you're located, how much they cost, but that's about the price over here. Serious Intention says he just got a Yamaha Revstar 320, and he also ordered a Yamaha LS16, and they're all solid rosewood. Looking to also get a Harley Benton SC Custom P90 Black. Yeah, so you're a Yamaha fan, I guess. Yamaha makes great stuff. I feel that the Yamaha, they make so much stuff from gear, pianos, guitars, basses, all kinds of instruments. They even make vehicles. They make motors. They have their hands in everything. And they're a serious company. They make good quality stuff, and I find that whatever you buy from Yamaha, it's well built and it'll last, and you won't necessarily have issues with it. And it's just that it is kind of, the company is kind of all over the place. So since they're not focused solely on instruments, I guess the overall marketing of the company products is a little bit diluted, so people don't necessarily consider them when they're looking at instruments, as opposed to Fender or Gibson. But they make excellent keyboards, excellent pianos. The stuff that I've tried from Yamaha has always been top notch in terms of the build quality. Texturous75 says, it's sad. I was fortunate enough to see him live with Black Sabbath on their final tour. That's Ozzy Osbourne, of course. I've never actually had the pleasure to see the man live. I never went to an Ozzy concert, but a lot of friends of mine were big fans of his when I was younger. Vox Guitars says, favorite gear would be my Vox Standard Model 24 guitar and my Epi Valve Junior head. I'm not surprised with a name like Vox Guitars Rock. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not surprised to hear that your favorite gear would be a Vox Standard Model 24 guitar. I haven't tried the Vox guitars at all. And I just haven't seen them that often in my neck of the woods. I'd be curious to try them out. So Jazz Guitar Neophyte says, and this is regarding his pedal that he purchased. It says, it's yes, but it sustains the chord indefinitely. Think of a bagpipe sustain and you play over it. I get it. So it's basically like a piano or a keyboard where you're playing a note and then it just keeps the note going and you can play your chords over it and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. That's not bad. Anything that can help us get better in practice is always a good thing, in my opinion, guys. We're really lucky. We have to really admit that today, in today's time, we have so many things that we can use to help us become better players, in terms of websites with information, videos that teach us how to do stuff, tools that are on our phones, chords, chord libraries on our phones. Everything is at our fingertips in terms of information on music on the internet, loopers, and fret systems that light up and show us where to put our fingers. We have so many things that are designed to help us become better musicians. And the thing that we're lacking the most, I feel, is the time. Now, our attention is divided throughout all of these products and all of these different things that we're looking at to become better musicians, and we spend less time playing and less time practicing. So it's like you have all this stuff that helps you become a better player, but you have less time to actually practice and become a better player, which is one of those catch-22s. If we would just stop being distracted and play, like, Frank Zappa always used to say, shut up and play your guitar, then I think that would go a lot further overall, and probably would cost us less money too. We all know this. I'm sure we all know this. It's just, sometimes we forget. Paul is asking a question. He says, anybody that knows about the Gurvana? I ordered the GIFI distortion, which was about $250 US when it came out. The critics love it. Right now it's $50. Wow. It's a Mesa dual rectifier sound. So why is it $50? I'm just curious. Is it being discontinued? And where did you order this from? Is this are you ordering it like in China? Or are you ordering it on a specific website? I'm curious to see. I'm gonna note it down and I'm gonna take a look at it, but I don't know. I haven't heard of it. And basically, I have a lot of distortion pedals and overdrive pedals, and I have what I like right now. So I avoid spending more money on that type of pedal, and I try and look at some other stuff. I just feel that right now my EQ pedal is one of my most important pedals. Some of my analog delay pedals are really something that I enjoy using a lot. I'm getting more into the modulation a little bit side of things. Compressor, EQ, boost, and then just simplify my pedal board with some other pedals that I use on a regular basis. So just a reverb delay, an overdrive, and a lower gain overdrive and a higher gain overdrive. That's usually what I have on my pedal board most of the time. Christopher says, I've tried several jazz basses, couldn't get the one I liked. Just sent back a USA special and got the 50s P-bass. P-bass is just more dependable, I guess. Does rock and everything well. Yeah, and it's simple. The P-bass, it's a simple design, and sometimes simpler is always better. Texture 75 says, I heard a Harley Benton guitar demo a few days ago and it sounded very good. Most of the stuff that Harley Benton's coming out with is great. I can't complain. Nico Van Reckham says, well, I got the SC450 Plus. Great guitar, especially for the price, but some have been not so great, but that's what I heard. But yours was okay, right? Did you have issues with yours, Nico? And what is the difference between the 450 Plus and the regular 450? Just wondering. Serious Intention says, I forgot I am receiving my Vintage Sounds amp, Vintage 15 Cream with gold Tolex. So the Vintage Sounds amp, are those amps made overseas as well? Or are those made in the US? And how much do those amps go for? Vox Guitars Rock says he's a puppy. Yeah, she's not a puppy though. She's actually 10 years old. That's Maya over there. And she usually is thrilled by my shows. You can see her right there. She's taking a nap. She keeps me company. She's my best friend. She's a great dog. Everyone should have a dog, in my opinion. Vox Guitar says, does anyone else find it funny that Behringer sells a noise reduction pedal? Yeah. You know what? Behringer stuff is great for people that don't have the budget to go into more expensive gear and basically start off with something. But in my opinion, the quality control on those products are not very good. And I've had issues with Behringer stuff right out of the gate, like brand new stuff. So I kind of avoid it. Jazz Guitars also says I recently purchased a Joyo Overdrive pedal, 35 bucks, and mimics the Tube Screamer. It's an amazing pedal for the price. I think I had one of those pedals. I might even still have it here. Uh, is it this one? This one's not Joyo. Sorry, this is Biang, but it's the same idea, same color. I think I sold the one that I had there that you're talking about. But yeah, Joyo stuff, if you want to get into pedals and you don't want to spend too much money and get in that range, they're definitely pedals to look at. You can basically build a pedal board for not too much money, and they'll last as long as they'll last, but then, when they break, you just throw them away and get another one. It's not a big deal, you know? So Nico says the regular 450 got the Wilkinson pickups, and the HB 450 Plus got the Roswell and the coil tap. Okay, I get it. So that's the difference between the two. Well, you know what? I'm not afraid to change the pickups on my guitars at all. So if the one I get doesn't do the job in terms of the pickups, I'll definitely switch them out. And as far as the coil taps, I don't really need coil taps, to be honest with you. A lot of guitars throw them in nowadays. I guess they want their guitars to be a little bit more flexible. But for me, with or without coil taps, doesn't really make too much of a difference. So Serious Intention says he ordered his from Electric Mojo Guitars. Total cost 2,400 bucks. Not cheap. No, not cheap at all. 2,400 bucks. This is a combo, and it's a 15-watt combo. You said? Wow, it's a lot of cash for an amplifier. But hey, if it's giving you the sounds that you need, that's cool. 2,400 bucks. Well spent if you're using that amplifier all the time and you're not going to be tempted to buy something else. Definitely worthwhile. My opinion, though, today is that there's so many other things that you can buy that will allow you to get a wide variety of sounds. So if you're not playing live and you're just playing at home, if you're spending that kind of cash, anything over 2,000 bucks, you can get yourself a really good multi effects unit and can get some super sounds out of it as well. A lot more flexibility. I have a very inexpensive Ampero right here by my side. I was just using it just yesterday to record sound samples I was making for this guy, which is the Echo Man analog delay pedal, and I'm almost finished that video, so it should be up this week. And it's a great unit. The Ampero is a great unit, as well as the Echo Man here. This is an analog delay with modulation effects. Works really well. So if you're interested in picking up that pedal, definitely check out that video. It's going to be up soon. But I can't say enough good things about the Ampero. It really is a great unit. So if you have 2,400 bucks to spend, you want to get something that's not too expensive. Get yourself a multi effects unit if you're at home and you're not playing live all the time, and get yourself an FR system. For those of you who don't know, the FR speaker systems are basically just um, full frequency, flat response speaker systems that are powered, that are designed to go through multi effects units so that you can actually hear the sound of the cabinet emulators of the multi effects units, and it doesn't get colored by the speaker or the cabinet as it normally would be getting colored if you're using it through an amp head or a cabinet for a guitar amp. So if you get those two things, you're basically set and you're going to have a great gigging platform and it would be great to actually record with at home, super quiet. You don't have to worry about, portability or anything like that. I actually recently just tried plugging my Ampero into my Mackie studio monitors because I have a set of studio monitors here with 8-inch drivers. And it sounds great because I can hear what I'm playing right out of the speakers. I can go into Logic directly from my Ampero with the cab emulators and whatnot, and I can get the sort of like the live sound in the studio, as well as capture what I need to capture directly into Logic without any hassle. The Ampero also works as a DAW. So if you don't have a DAW, you can actually just go out of the Ampero with the USB and go directly into your software, and it'll record. So there's a lot of great things that these units allow you to do, so you can actually experiment with them, and you don't have to spend a fortune anymore. And to be honest with you, I love great amplifiers, I love great guitars. I have a couple of pretty nice amplifiers behind me, but I use this stuff more when I'm at home. And to be honest, when I jam live, I don't always bring my amps because they're hard to lug around and they're expensive. So tend to go to the multi-effects all-in-one solutions whenever I can, just because they're more flexible. I don't know if you guys can hear my dog snoring in the background. I'm going to stay quiet a second. Listen to this. Hear that? It's funny. Anyways, the other cool thing that's coming out, speaking of multi-effects unit, is that TC Electronics is coming out with their Plethora X5 unit. I don't know if you guys have seen this at all. It's starting to come out now. A lot of advertising is happening about this pedal, and it really looks cool. I want to get my hands on it, and I've been trying to get in contact with the people from TC Electronics, but it's really, really hard to get in contact with them. I'm trying to get them to send me a unit to review, just because it looks really well designed. It's basically an all-in-one pedal board where you have a series of effects slots or banks that you can actually program with any one of their effects units. So there you have basically 127 pedals to choose from, and each one of those pedals you can actually load in, and you can save 75 tone prints per effect. And it also has a built-in looper, and since it's all in one, no need to have a pedal board with a whole bunch of wires, power supply and whatnot. You have it all in one unit. The cool thing about this is that the way it works, you can load it in using your phone, same way you would normally load in tone prints, and you can just shove it in your bag and you're ready to go. The only thing that I don't like about something like that is if you specifically enjoy a specific pedal and you don't have the ability to put that pedal in the chain, then it kind of sucks. TC Electronic makes some great modulation effects, delay effects, and reverbs and all that kind of stuff, but they don't necessarily do a good quality distortion pedal, at least not the one that I like. So they definitely that can be a disadvantage for some, but they do have a loop in the back of it, so you're actually able to put in another pedal of your own if you want to have something specific, and I thought that was great. So if the pedal doesn't cost that much money, if it's about 400 bucks or so, it would definitely be something worthwhile looking at if you're looking at possibly getting more effects pedals or rebuilding your pedal board. Magnatone amps and Kingtone Blues Power Overdrive. Magnatone amps are the ones that Billy Gibbons use, if I'm not mistaken. And those are very expensive amplifiers and hard to get. Do you have one, or are you looking to get one, Jeff? Nico says he's got 2 dogs. Another dog lover. I love dogs. I love dogs more than people sometimes. Francis the Marzio's in the house again. Hey Francis, how's it going, buddy? Nice to see you here today. Thanks for joining us. Vox says volume pod died on my SG copy yesterday. Tough fix or not? It's not a tough fix at all if you're handy with a soldering iron. It's pretty basic actually. If you don't know what you're doing, it's better to bring it to a tech though, because you don't want to put in the wrong pot and wire it up improperly and then have humming and noise issues. Jazz Guitar Neophyte says my dog is a boxer and he also hangs around my room, but for some odd reason leaves when I start playing my guitar. She does that sometimes too. Sometimes. It depends. Sometimes it gets too loud for her. Serious Intention says it's arriving on Tuesday. Charles from Electric Mojo Guitars is a great guy. Princeton clone, hand wired. My only amp I wanted, a Fender Naughty Pine, but it's $1,900 made in Mexico. And this is exactly what I mean when I say that the big companies are just giving it to us over and over again without any lube, because $1,900 for a regular, you know, I mean the Princeton is a nice amp to have, but they've been making these things for years. They're making them in Mexico, but the price keeps going up and up on them. Paul Lima's asking me, what are those studio type speakers called that you use with a multi effects unit? Any recommended speakers? So yeah, the speakers that there's two types of speakers. I'm using. There's actually many ways you can hook up a multi effects unit. Um, so you can go through studio monitors, which are basically regular speaker systems that you would use when you're recording and mixing. They're flat speakers, so they don't color the sound. I'm using a set of Mackie speakers with 8-inch drivers. They're powered. But you can also use what they call an FR type speaker, which is you can companies like Headrush make them. They actually make them with 12-inch speakers or 8-inch speakers, and they basically look like the same type of speakers you would have, like a studio wedge that is powered, that you can basically plug your multi effects unit into it. And there's a lot of companies making these right now because a lot of people are using Kempers, they're using Axe-Fx units as well as other multi-effects units. So they're really great for not coloring the sound and basically giving you what you're hearing when you're listening to the effect with, let's say, headphones, as opposed to changing the sound when you go into a live environment, which often happens with the multi-effects units. Look at the just type in Headrush FR in Google and you'll see what I'm talking about. J Duncan M3 Golf says Ibanez PS10. Um, is that what you're getting, or is that what you're looking at, or you're asking me? Is that what you enjoy? He says that's his favorite of all time. So why is that your favorite? There's a lot of other choices out there. Why do you like that specifically so much? So Nico, I had a feeling that was the case. So they probably will change on the Harley Benton 450, the Plus model. Yeah, I had a feeling it was also the woods, mahogany as opposed to basswood, and the fretboard is probably the fake rosewood that they're using right now. But you know what? I don't mind using basswood on my guitars. Some of the basswood guitars that I have really sound great, And basswood is not a bad material for bodies. It's actually not too heavy, and it has good resonance. Some of the more expensive manufacturers like Sur use basswood bodies with a maple cap, and they sound great. Jeff says he has one of the Magnetone's Varsity Reverb. Yeah, the Magnetone amps are great. Anything that Billy Gibbons uses automatically becomes like a really hot item to get. Jay Duncan says, I need to reshape my neck from a fat D to a thin D. Can this be done do it yourself with a hand sander? Uh, that's a good question. Yes, it can be done, but it all depends on your skill level. Honestly, if you don't know what you're doing, I highly recommend you bring it to someone that knows what they're doing. You can actually do a job. You can actually do it yourself if you use shaper, like scrapers that are cut out for different shapes. You can get these online. You can start off with those and then finish it off with sandpaper. You have to know what you're doing though. Otherwise, you're gonna mess up your guitar big time. You also have to know how deep the uh, the truss rod is placed in the back of the neck, because what ends up happening if the truss rod sits very close to the top, or in your case the bottom of the neck, the part that you want to, here, let me show you. So let's say you have a guitar, right, and you want to sand back the neck and change the profile. You have to think about this. The guitar manufacturers will put in a truss rod in the neck, right? So the truss rod is basically, there's a cut that is made on the front side of the neck, and they put in the truss rod in a channel that they cut out, and then they glue the fretboard on it. Now, if that truss rod is close to the edge of the back of the guitar, let's say you have, I don't know, an eighth of an inch or a quarter of an inch of wood before that channel starts, and you sand off material or remove the material on the back of your neck, you're gonna go right through to where the channel, the slot is for the truss rod, and then you're gonna be in trouble. So I would be very careful when you're trying to sand back a neck. If it's minor sanding, it can be done. If it's major reshaping, I would suggest that you be very careful, very careful. Jeff says that he got the Electric Mojo in Ontario. Where do you buy your stuff from in Ontario? I oftentimes I'll buy stuff online from Ontario just because I get to save one of the taxes. Quicksilver is in the house and he has a couple of comments that are interesting. He says, don't put too much stock on the woods in those Harley Bentons. For example, the mahogany is not African mahogany, but something in the same genius, or I guess vein, and um, and from Asia. So yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of different species of woods, and often when they say mahogany, there's African mahogany, and then there's like another 12 or 15 different types of mahoganies. So mahogany is not all the same, and a lot of times people get hung up on the word mahogany, and if it's not mahogany, it's not the right type of wood for them. But generally, it doesn't really matter. It's the sound of the guitar is what's important, and if it sounds good, then it is good. Um, so just be aware. And if they're nowadays, they're also saying, a lot of these guitars are coming with a rosewood. They're saying we're shipping them with rosewood now, but it's not the type of rosewood that is endangered. It's different, a different species of rosewood. You know, the Harley Benton that I got had a mahogany type, actually not mahogany, an ebony type of wood on the fretboard, and it looked great. I have no problems with that. Serious Intention says, Tony, I ordered the and returned the Harley Benton, the HR pedal board. I was not impressed by its effects, but allowed me to discover the wonder of IRs. Does the Ampero allow to load any IRs? Yes, that's one of the beautiful things about the Ampero is that you can load in, I think, about eight different IRs of your own selection, and you can mix with the ones that are already built into the unit, and it allows additional flexibility as well. But if you like IRs, you can also get something like this, which is made by Hotone or Hot One. This little device here, which is the Omni IR. It's called the Omni IR. And what it allows you to do is you can actually, it has a whole bunch of built-in IRs, and you can actually load more of your own and take them with you. So if you have an effects unit and you don't like the built-in IRs that they offer, by just going into this, you can actually play with a whole bunch more and load whatever you want in here. The cool thing about this pedal is it also has a balanced output here. So it has a through, a balanced output, and it also has a phone room on your pedal board. And anybody that has a multi-effects unit, this would be a really cool thing to have. So you're not stuck. Raphael Jesus is in the house. Hey Raphael, nice to see you, man. He says, what's up, dude? Love your channel. Still thinking of getting a Zach Myers because of the video I saw a couple of years ago. Yeah, I still have it. Still right there. Great guitar. I was just playing it yesterday for my review that I'm working on. So you'll see it on another video soon that I'll be putting up this week on the Echo Man from X-Vive. And Jose Martinez says, are you still loving your bass breaker? I have the 15-watt version that I like a lot, and I'm glad it has a master volume. Well, yeah, the bass breaker is right there. It's also the 15. Yeah, I like it a lot. I'm keeping it for now until I can get my hands on a 30R on the used market possibly. But for right now, I love it, and I'm keeping it, and it's a great amplifier. Really happy with the bass breaker stuff so far. The only thing that I find with the bass breaker stuff, and actually a lot of the newer Fender amps in general, is that they're a little bit noisy. They do have some hiss, and that I guess is because they're trying to get more gain out of the amplifiers, so the gain stage seems to be a little bit noisier. If they can get that under control in the future, it would be great. Jeff says, has anyone used Sheptone Les Paul pickup? The Sheptone stuff is really good. From the videos that I've heard and seen, they sound fantastic. I was trying to get some pickups for review, but they didn't respond to my emails. I was very curious, and I wanted to get some for you guys because I know a lot of people are interested in the Sheptone stuff. I'm going to try and get some stuff from them eventually and see if I can help you guys make that buying decision. Quicksilver says Honduran mahogany is a stuff that PRS uses, which I believe is considered the best mahogany available. Is it? I don't know. I mean, if you listen to Paul, he's full of hot air. That guy. He's a good marketing guy, and he has the gift of gab, and he likes to tell the stories and say how, everything that PRS does is great. And overall, they are a great company, but sometimes you have to take what he says with a big grain of salt. PRS stuff is great. The types of wood that they use are really good, but they make you pay an arm and a leg for it, and even a kidney sometimes. I have a couple of PRS guitars. I do feel that they're great quality. Luckily, I got mine when they were a little bit less expensive. The prices keep going up every year. And actually, recently, I also saw that PRS have introduced mid-priced basses. So for the bassists in the house today, we were talking about bass guitars. Take a look at the PRS stuff. Maybe they would be something you'd be interested in trying out. I'm curious about them as well. PRS got into bass guitars, acoustic guitars recently, and of course they've been making amps. Excuse me. I haven't been totally impressed with the amps that they've been making, namely because they're very expensive and they're not all good. There's a couple of units that seem to be good, but I don't think they're going to hold their price as much as their guitars will. My opinion. Plus, there's so much choice in guitars these days and amplifiers that you don't necessarily have to spend that kind of crazy money. John Flood says, what's an IR? An IR is an impulse response, John. Basically, what that means is that it's some software that you would load into a multi-effects unit or other device that will basically emulate the sound of a cabinet and speaker, so that you can actually play your effects through an emulation of a cabinet or speaker. So for example, I have a 412 cabinet loaded with Celestion 65 speakers in the corner, 4 of them. So if I wanted to play a multi-effects unit and simulate playing through that cabinet, I can do that with IRs. It's the way they've been programmed and recorded that allow them to emulate the different speaker and cabinet sounds. And it really does change a lot of stuff when you're playing with multi-effects unit. Overall, it just makes the sound a way more believable and realistic. So guys, we're up to 11 o'clock already, 11:03 to be exact. So I'll just quickly go through the last couple of questions here, and then we're going to wrap it up and call it a day. Let's have a quick look at the last couple of questions here. So Quicksilver says, consider the thick poly paint job on those Harley Benton guitars, and you may as well use a big plank of dried out wood from the church pew or something. Actually, Quicksilver, dried out planks of wood from church wood are actually very good. The problem is not the dried out wood. The dried out wood is actually what you want. You want the wood to be completely dry. What you don't want is the thick poly paint that will basically, it's like taking a guitar and dipping it into a big vat of plastic, and you're basically sealing in the wood with the poly. And that's why a lot of people go for nitro, because it's thin and it lets the wood breathe. But basically, the big difference in the quality of the woods being used today is the fact that the woods have to be dried to 4%. And a lot of the companies that are churning out guitars from overseas don't have the kiln dryers that you need to be able to do this, and don't take the time to actually adequately dry the wood, and that's why the woods don't sound the way they do, and they don't sound as resonant as they should. If the wood is properly dried, it actually has more resonance in it because the sap comes out of the wood. Paul says, when players are excited about mahogany being great, they are echoing things over the years about old growth wood that is not available. New growth Honduras sounds less like old growth than Asian or African. I'm not a wood specialist, but I think that there's a lot of different types of woods out there that sound great. I don't think you're going to be able to hear the difference. You might or might not, but I mean, a lot of times when you're playing your guitar and you're in a live environment and the guitar's painted, I don't think anybody's going to be able to tell you what type of wood your guitar is made out of. So don't get hung up on that. Just, I think the feel of the way the instrument is put together and the pickups definitely have a lot more to say about how you will enjoy that guitar. And obviously if the guitar is not super heavy. What else here? Last couple of questions. Serious Intention says, love your vids, man. I will pull the trigger on the HBSC Custom P90 like yours. Great. We can compare notes once you get it. And Nico says, what's the difference in tone between mahogany and basswood? Good question. Like I said, I'm not a wood specialist. I think it really boils down to the overall frequency of sounds that you get from one or the other. I think each type of wood or any kind of material that you use will always have, will tend to exaggerate certain frequencies, some higher, low, mid frequencies. With guitars, you're usually looking at the mids. That's where guitar sounds usually live, is in the mid frequencies. So if you have too many highs or too many lows, it kind of makes it sound weird. But if it's in the mid frequency spectrum, then like I always say, once the drummer kicks in, what's the difference? If you have good quality pickups in your guitar, I think that makes a lot more difference in the overall sound, and the amplifier you're playing your guitar through, and effects pedals and everything else tend to tend to water down the overall effect of the wood when you're using a lot of effects and going through a very complicated signal chain. You probably won't even hear the difference. If you're playing your guitar unplugged in a room by yourself, you will probably notice it, but everybody else will probably not, so don't worry about it too much. And Tim says, Tony, I picked up a Squier vintage modified Strat based on your review. Great, man. Congratulations. How do you like it so far, Tim? Squire's making some pretty good stuff, man. And Quicksilver says, hey, Tony, thoughts on the Plethora X5? Seems like an interesting concept. Quicksilver, I commented on that already in the video earlier, so maybe you could watch the video again once it's posted live. Posted again, I mean, on YouTube, so you can hear what I said about it. I thought it was super interesting, and I definitely want to get my hands on one because I think it has a lot of potential in terms of a tool, and definitely something that would be cool, and I'm just trying to get one to review. And Vox Guitars Rock says, wouldn't basswood have more bass? You would think so, wouldn't you? But that's not necessarily true. I don't think they call it, it's actually basswood, not basswood. But whatever. So that's it, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I really had a great time with all of you guys, like usual. I really look forward to these great Sunday sessions with you all. And I feel that we're getting more traction with them. Every time we have one, there's more people and there's a lot more great comments. And I'm really happy to see everyone tuning in like you do. I appreciate it. There's going to be more videos that I'm going to be posting out this week. I'll also be putting up some more lick of the week lessons. I hope you guys are enjoying those as well. If you haven't already checked those out, please do. Spread the word about the live Sunday streams if you can with your friends, and it really would be great to start building up more of a friendly community so that we can definitely talk about this stuff and enjoy our addictions together. And that's it for this Sunday the 23rd of February. So tune in for the next show will be definitely next Sunday as well, and same time, same place. Set it on your calendar, guys, so you don't forget. If you haven't already subscribed and you're new to my channel, please subscribe, because guys, this is why I do it. I do it for you, and if you guys don't tune in, then there's no point in me doing this stuff, right? So I really appreciate it. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Tune in again next Sunday, same time, same place. In the meantime, stay tuned, keep rocking. Take care, guys.